Israel and Hezbollah exchanging fire this weekend, with Israel saying warplanes targeted rocket launchers in southern Lebanon in order to stop an imminent attack by Hezbollah. Hezbollah, for its part, said it launched rockets and drones aimed at military bases in northern Israel. This is all against the backdrop of ongoing negotiations in the region aimed at trying to get a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And join us now, Firas Maksad, senior fellow at the Middle East Institute. And for what I'm seeing typically written is that neither side at this point really seems to want it to escalate to the point that some of us are worried about. Is that true? And what do you attribute that to?
Well, yes and no. Let me try to infuse some nuance here. Clearly, the regional players, the United States, certainly very influential, but also Iran, which is the patron of Hezbollah and Hamas and some of the other groups trying to get at Israel there. These two players do not want to see a broadening of this war. And there's a lot of back-channel diplomacy taking place. The challenge here is that the local players still have the will to fight, whether it's Israel or Hamas. It seems that, Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu clearly is to face a day of reckoning for what happened on October 7th, the intelligence failures once the guns fall silent, perhaps interested in continuing, maybe even broadening this war. And from day one, Hamas's Yahya Sinwar, its leader, who's hiding in the tunnels of Gaza somewhere, has tried to draw in the Iranian axis, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, on behalf of its cause. So the local players here perhaps still having a will to fight, but the regional players in the United States trying to put a lid on things.
What is the reason for Iran's restraint?
Well, Iran has always had a preference for indirect warfare, using the various militias and groups that it sponsors, arms, and trains throughout the region to try and get at Israel through 1,000 cuts, not a direct head-on war. It understands very well that in a direct war situation with Israel, it probably has a lot to lose, including its much vaunted nuclear program. So for that reason, not because of Iran being a responsible regional player, Iran prefers not to have a direct war with Israel at this point.
So Israel probably knows that. Would there be a reason for Israel to keep poking even the proxies, or poking Iran to try to get them to finally say enough is enough so that they could take out the nuclear facilities?
Yeah, what we would pay to be in the mind of Benjamin Netanyahu right now. There certainly is a rationale for it. Many of the analysts out there tend to focus, and I did just mention myself, the personal interest, the political interest of the Israeli prime minister in prolonging this war for his own well-being. But there is a strategic rationale for it, too. The United States is marshaling an armada in the Mediterranean and in the Persian Gulf in defense, essentially playing defense on behalf of Israel right now. The situation on the northern border with Hezbollah, according to most Israelis, not just the prime minister, is untenable. Something has to be done about the balance of power. Iran, through Hezbollah, implanting itself there. Northern Israel has been largely vacated. 60,000 plus Israelis have already left. So if you are to redress the balance of power against Iran, starting from maybe South Lebanon, this might be an opportune time to do it if you're the Israeli prime minister.
Does that require U.S. involvement?
Very much so. I mean, all the analysis, all the intelligence, the United States itself sort of saying on background here that Israel cannot defend itself against some 150,000 rockets that it believes Hezbollah has, Hezbollah being the most powerful non-state actor in the world. And obviously there's the potential that Iran might get directly involved, too, on behalf of its leading client in the region. So for all these reasons, the U.S. will continue to play an essential part in the defense of Israel. Israel depends on that.
Did Israel have a heads up? It was just before it was really going to start, wasn't it, for us? And how does that happen? I guess we can figure it out in terms of intelligence. But couldn't Hezbollah have brought a lot more force if it chose to do so?
Absolutely. And here we have a war of narratives, so to speak, taking place. The Israelis would have you believe it was precisely because of their pre-dawn, preemptive attack that much of the force of what was coming from Hezbollah was blunted. This, by the way, was done with direct American assistance. We know now that American drones were active over the area and were providing real-time intelligence to the Israelis. That's how they knew, together with their own, that this is coming. Hezbollah will say something different. Hezbollah will tell you that this was very calculated, very precise. It was meant to target a specific military base north of Tel Aviv, and that they did this precisely because they don't want to drag the region and Lebanon into an all-out war. But in all cases here, this was something that was much less than was feared, and the region is collectively breathing a sigh of relief today.